After 1.5 seasons with the New York Giants, Kadarius Toney is now a Kansas City Chief. The Chiefs sent their 2023 third and 6th round draft picks to get the former Florida Gator as the latest weapon for Pat Mahomes. In this video, we're going to go over Toney's time with the Giants as well as his outlook with the Chiefs. The 6-10 Giants headed into the 2021 draft with an offense that finished second to last in points per game the season before. University of Alabama standout Devonta Smith looked set to go to NYG with the 11th pick, but the Philadelphia Eagles traded up to pick 10 and took him instead. The Giants traded down with the Chicago Bears and took Kadarius Toney at pick 20, making him the first receiver selected by the Giants in the first round since Odell Beckham Jr. Toney was described as an explosive yards after catch machine going into the league, but there were some concerns expressed about Toney's character and commitment to the game. In his first 3 games, he only had 4 receptions for 14 yards on 4 targets, but in week 4 he had a pretty decent showing against the Saints, putting up 6 catches for 78 receiving yards. Week 5, Toney absolutely exploded. He put up 10 receptions for 189 receiving yards against the Cowboys, which broke the Giants' rookie record for receiving yards previously held by Odell Beckham. Ironically, that game was against the Cowboys as well. It's worth noting Kadarius Toney could have actually extended that record further, but he tried to punch Cowboy safety Damontae Kazee and got ejected. Injuries and COVID forced Toney to miss over half of the Giants' remaining games that season, and in the games he actually played, he combined for 19 catches and just 139 receiving yards, which was nowhere near the clinic he put on in week 5. Despite missing 7 games, Toney actually finished second on the team in receiving yards, which kind of shows how bad the Giants were on offense as a whole. The Giants cleaned house in the coaching staff and front office in the offseason, including the man that drafted Toney, Dave Gettleman. For more on that, take a look at my previous video covering the Giants' 2022 offseason. Kadarius Toney seemed set to be the Giants' breakout receiver of 2022, but the Giants turned around and used their 2nd round pick this year to add another receiver to the team. This time, it was Kentucky receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, who, much like Toney, was considered a gadget receiver. Not long after this, trade rumors started popping up involving Kadarius Toney. His similarity to Wan'Dale Robinson, continued reports about his attitude and commitment, as well as his injury history were common mentions. Injuries kept Kadarius Toney out of preseason action, and in the Giants' first 2 regular season games, he had 2 catches for no yards on a limited snap count. He'd missed the next 5 weeks with a hamstring injury, and as fate would have it, those would be Toney's final games as a New York Giant. The trade rumors that surrounded Toney in the offseason became reality in week 8 when the Giants sent him to the Chiefs for draft picks. This raised eyebrows for a few reasons. Including the game after Toney was traded, the Giants are currently bottom of the league in passing touchdowns and have averaged the 3rd lowest passing yards per game so far. Toney was supposed to be the passing game saving grace after the Giants lost Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, and Daniel Bellinger to injury. Also, Toney was a 1st round pick the year before, not by current general manager Joe Schoen, but a 1st round pick nonetheless. For the Giants to make one of, if not their weakest position weaker by trading their recent 1st round pick, there had to have been more going on. However, the Giants managed to start the season 6-1 with Toney being a complete non-factor in those games. Great coaching from Brian Daboll and relying on the legs of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones have kept the Giants near the top of the NFC. The Giants' surprising start and the new regime having no ties to Kadarius Toney made them comfortable enough to deal him to a team that believes in and can benefit from his upside. Kansas City has no shortage of quality pass catchers. Surefire Hall of Fame tight end Travis Kelce and a resurging Juju Smith-Schuster are both in the top 20 for receiving yards so far. Mecole Hardman has had a solid stretch of games, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling has been pretty decent too. Kadarius Toney is likely the Chiefs' answer for losing Tyreek Hill. In the offseason, the Chiefs traded Tyreek to the Miami Dolphins, and just to put into perspective how crazy his season has been, not only does he lead the league in receiving yards by a wide margin, he's actually on pace to break Calvin Johnson's single-season receiving yards record. While Toney has missed a lot of games since he was drafted, he's not only 23 years old, but he just got a major quarterback upgrade from Daniel Jones to Pat Mahomes. There's absolutely a path to him not only carving out a role, but becoming the best wide receiver on the Chiefs, assuming he stays healthy, and emphasis on if he stays healthy. Giving up a 3rd and 6th round pick for a high upside player like Kadarius Toney is a pretty low price to pay, all things considered. Toney is also in the 2nd year of his rookie contract, so Kansas City gets him for an affordable 2.5 seasons and can choose to exercise his 5th year option depending on how he plays. Despite confusion about whether or not Kadarius Toney was still dealing with a hamstring injury, he seems set to play as soon as this weekend against the Titans. We've seen Toney ball out in short bursts, but Kansas City is where he'll not only get the chance to do it consistently, but be part of a team that'll be a perennial playoff contender under Pat Mahomes. For the Giants, they'll have to move forward with Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Kenny Golladay once he returns, but they'll most likely still be relying on the ground game between Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. The marriage between Kadarius Toney and the New York Giants was shorter than a lot of people thought it would be initially. Both parties will now move in different directions, but in a similar position as contenders in their respective conferences.